Well, howdy. It's time for the, with the J-Hank program safely tucked away. We put that to bed last week. So, here we're starting our summer series called This Is My Life. And, of course, with me. This is chapter 1 in the beginning, and, of course, the story of my life begins the same way as pretty much everyone else's, with the 3 big words, I was born, because yes, I was born in July 18th, 1967, around, according to my birth certificate, 7:38 a.m. in the hospital, St. John's Hospital in Huron. It was a sultry summer day. And so that's the historical part. Now, see, the history is the written story. The written part. Someone thought enough, and see, it all started folklore. That's what the stories that we pass down from generation to generation. History is when you finally get that stuff wrote down. I don't know that anyone's ever wrote it down, but my dad liked to talk about the time that the nuns gave him the bum rush the previous evening, and so he spent the night sleeping in the car. Now, I don't know if he actually did that, but he said he did, and ain't nobody around to say no, he didn't, so we're going to have to assume he did. Those old nuns, they ain't talking, and it's been nearly 50 years, so I don't imagine they're going to be doing much talking. Anyhow, and if you're one of those folks that believe that life begins at conception, well, I don't know much about that either. That would be more folklore. The only thing I can tell you for sure is that, counting backwards, I'm guessing that I was conceived around Thanksgiving of 1966, which means that someone had to have something to be thankful for, I guess, if that was it. Well, me, of course, because had I not been conceived at that particular point in time, I wouldn't have been born at the point in time that I was. So, yes, I was born, and I don't remember too much about that. I'm relying mostly on the diary that my mother wrote. She wrote it from my point of view, and she is quite a gifted writer, or at least she was back then. She still is a little bit. She's got quite a. She could be the second coming of Laura Ingalls Wilder, because she and Laura Ingalls Wilder had the same kind of qualifications, except for my mother's a whole lot younger. Laura Ingalls Wilder, by the way, is about 100 years older than I am, so she would have been 150 had she been around today. She'd have a lot of stories to tell, I'm sure. And why are we talking about Laura Ingalls Wilder? We got to be talking about this is the story of my life, right? Okay, so this is about the time that my dad was working on his first big real estate deal. There was a half section for sale north of the home place, owned by a widow by the name of Jessie McKay, I believe was her name, and she wanted to sell to my granddad, but he seemed to think that my dad would be more apt to pay off a 30-year mortgage. Of course, granddad didn't realize he was going to be 104 but anyhow. So I guess somehow the PCA or whatever bank it was that my dad needed to buy the land said, okay, you're all set. The only thing is, she was willing to part with the land, but she wanted the mineral rights to be left to her grandkids, and so she wanted to retain the mineral rights for her grandkids. And I don't know that there's any oil down there or whatnot, or gold or coal or whatever, but I guess if they want to see what's down there, they're going to have to talk to my dad, because he'd know more about that than I would. So, and I hope, just me personally, I hope if they do manage to get their oil off the ground, they can do it without spoiling the natural beauty that is that particular parcel of pasture land. It is very beautiful, like most of the South Dakota countryside is. Okay, earliest memories, well, naturally, I remember all kinds of family gatherings at Grandma Agnes's house. It seemed like she always had something going on, there was always some reason to celebrate. And so somebody's birthday or Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, or National Cupcake Day, or whatever reason there was. Of course, every day you got to spend at Grandma Agnes's house was a celebration, joy, and it was a wonderful. There was all kinds of fun to be had over there for whatever reason. And I remember, of course, there was fun over at my other grandparents, but it was a different kind of fun. You can tell that I spent a lot of time with my grandma because apparently my entertainment bug started, the old acting bug as they call it. It started early because my mother audio recorded me saying things like "Search for Tomorrow," brought to you by Mr. Clean, and "Hey diddle diddle the cow," and the cows, the little Jack Corner, and "Little Boy Blue, come blow your horn," the sheep's in the meadow, and the cows in the corn, and all that stuff. And 60 Minutes is brought to you by the Employers Insurance of Wausau. and the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Roger Moore. And well, of course, I didn't sound quite like I was a little more unpolished, not quite the entertainer that I am today. But it was the way and so whenever I was hanging out at Grandma's house, she must have been watching the Search for Tomorrow and that different. And because my parents, they were always hard at work. We had sheep, pigs, cattle, chickens. There was something to bring. Food on the table and all that jazz. And let me tell you, meals were always on time at my mother's house. Sometimes it was vegetables, and that wasn't all that great, but that's just one of those things. Life just happens that way. But no, I don't remember, as far as my earliest memory, though, I can pretty much pinpoint it to where I don't remember life before my brothers were born, so of course I don't remember, I don't remember being an only child. I don't remember my Uncle Butch Tall, because he died in May of that year, and I don't remember him. Don't remember, I don't remember my being an only child, so I don't remember life before they were born, Doug and Daryl. And I do remember how Grandpa Hahn, standing upright, taking in oxygen, walking around, and being kind of a jovial kind of a guy, which, maybe I'm misremembering. So if I am, please, anybody who knows better, make a comment. Kind of let me know where I'm going wrong and where I'm going right. And so, as far as remembering, don't tell me you're talking too long. If you think I'm talking too long, we just met, because that's the one thing I do is talk. Anyhow, and I remember Grandma Hahn, or Grandma Agnes, rather. Well, I can remember both of them, but that's no big deal. Because it's Grandma Gehring is what I mean. Grandma Gehring was 84 when she died around 1970, and there was there was some complications in there, and I'm not exactly, I remember them talking that she was in a car wreck in Boone, Iowa or something like that. And I remember, I thought I saw her in the hospital, but my mother seems to think it was in a nursing home. And I remember her being in a wheelchair, but my mother said, no, you don't remember her being, you just saw pictures of it. And, well, I don't know. I do know one thing. She was not standing up and standing upright and taking in oxygen. So she was sitting down when I saw her. She was sitting in a chair. It might not have been a wheelchair, but it was a chair. And so, like I say, comments, if I get something wrong, or even if I get something right, this is, hey, make my day. Tell me I did something right, Okay, so what else we got to talk about? I think that's pretty much it. And if there's any memories, I'll save them for next time, I guess. And I hope that you're all enjoying this. See, I'm being a kind of a historian like I am, and we live in a technological era where this is possible, where I can sit, videotape all it, oh, what I wouldn't give if I had been able to watch a YouTube video of my granddad talking about about his life back when he was 50 years old. I tried to talk to him when he was 100 years old, and he'd say one thing, and then when I'd ask him about that, well, he denied it ever happened, and I don't know if it was his memory was doing that or whatever. Anyhow, more about that next week. So until then, God be with you, and do the best you can.